Hello. Uh, so, as you probably guessed by the title and the thumbnail, uh, even though I don't have any of my hero stuff out here at the moment, um, this video is going to be one of the first that I'm going to do about like the My Hero, the Class 1A and Class 1B, or just like the kids at UA in general, still getting to be kids. Well, not kids, but still getting to be teenagers. It's like everything that they do at UA is like so much of it is focused towards like the hero studies and like heroics and training and battle strategies and costume designs, which is probably kind of fun in of itself to a degree. I would say that seems kind of fun. It was just like you get to design a costume, awesome. Um, that'd be great. But we see all the kids getting to do those things, and I decided to do kind of a little bit of a series about like the where they also get to just be teenagers, where they're getting to be, it's like for this moment in time, you're kind of not being a hero, you're not training to be a hero, you're not working on your costume, you're not, working out or working on your quirk or working on a battle strategy for something. You're just kind of getting to be a kid. You're kind of getting to just be a teenager and do normal teenager things. And that's kind of what these videos are going to be about. So I just call them like, whatever I put it, heroes to be being teens or whatever I called it. And I kind of liked that idea because, throughout the course of the series, we have seen the kids get to have fun at various points in time. And I was kind of figuring out, well, doing this as one video would kind of make it really long. So I'm just going to do it as like, well, at the moment, I've kind of have it broken down into like 3 sections. And then, so it'll be one video for one section, one for the next, and one for the next. The third one, I'm still waiting on a resolution to something in the series before I do like that, before I do that video. But the first video, this one, is going to be about from kind of like when they get to UA all the way up until after kind of the fall of All Might, after his final battle with, All For One. And because like that kind of represents one of these moments, one of like the hard line barriers that they hit where, the you being kids is kind of that's kind of dropped a fair amount because it's like they still have like all this other stuff that they have to do at the school. Like that's the second episode is going to mostly center around like the sports festival and some other things that go along with that or that happen before that. And I've already talked about like the dorm rooms, that contest. I'll go over a little bit of that in like the second video as well. But this video is from like the time when they first get to UA all the way up until like All Might's final battle, where they go to help Kachan and everything and get him back from being kidnapped by the League of Villains. So let's just kind of start at the top. So kind of one of the first things, of course, that we see them doing, like they have like entrance exams that they have to do, and this isn't like always necessarily it's like, oh well, they have to do normal school things like study and take tests. I mean, yeah, that's stuff that other quote unquote regular kids are doing at their high schools as well at the moment. That didn't go to a hero high school, like UA or Shiketsu or one of the other ones that we're introduced to, like the one that Miss Joke works out. But we are like the one where Sue's friend goes to. But so it's like I was like, well, what do we have that goes with that? And I'm like, well, kind of one of the first things that they end up doing is they have to choose their class representative, which of course the whole class is like, yay, we have to choose a class representative. And then like Ida's like, we have to do it in an orderly fashion. And then he loses. But he's just like, I thought that it was because my idea I would win. But of course, he doesn't. It's Izuku that gets to be, the class representative, and then Momo comes in as, vice president type of thing. Um, or, second in command, I guess, in that case. But like we see that, of course, at the end of the episode, of course, or at that end of that chapter. So it's like, oh well, Ida, was much better at taking care of, taking things under pressure to a degree, like helping calm down the student body and everything. After the media made their way into UA, stuck their way into UA after the barrier was destroyed. That Izuka's like, I think Ida should be the one that's in charge because most people voted for themselves, and of course we find out later on from Shoto that he was the other one that voted for Momo, in regards to voting for her for the class representative when they did that because Shoto didn't vote for himself. Which Shoto is probably like, I shouldn't be in charge. That's a bad idea. I'm not good with human interactions yet. I'm getting better, but not quite yet. um, but of course, Ida is then the class representative, and Momo is then the vice representative or second representative, whatever you want to refer to it as. And of course, we know that Class 1B had to go through the same thing because Kendo is the class representative, and then I think it's Shota who is the mines, the one that can, has double impact that can hit things. He's the other one that is a class representative and such. And so we see them get to do that, which is kind of fun. And then, of course, throughout the course of the first several episodes, once they're at UA and going through things, we do kind of see these, starts of friendships happening. Like we see, Izuku and Ida and Ochako starting to, build this friendship. And like, we see other ones kind of starting to build friendships as well, which is always nice to see because, a lot of these kids are coming from many different middle schools and stuff like that. And some of them are much more high class middle schools that they probably went to, like Ida and Momo. And, and Shoto probably all went to like very, very high ranked middle schools, just given the fact of, Ida's parents are heroes, Shoto's father is a hero, and Momo's parents are extremely wealthy. So they would have had money to be able to send their kids to whatever school they wanted. And then, of course, like with Izuku, him and Kacchan went to the same middle school, implying that, either his parent, Kacchan's parents was just like, no, you're just going to kind of go to public middle school, and then you can try to go to, a more prestigious high school or whatever. But, we know that Bakugo's parents are like fashion designers, but we don't really know anything about, I don't remember if we ever get an exact statement as to what Izuku's mom does. I've seen stuff where she's a nurse. I've seen things where she's a, not a full-blown doctor, but, a nurse, but where she's like a lawyer, I think was one of the ones that I've seen a few times. There's multiple things that I've seen that they show that, like, they do that, or it's like, she does work, but, Izuku's father is like, working overseas, working abroad in the U.S. I think we've determined that, and that he like sends money back, and that's kind of how they're able to have the apartment, and how to a degree I would assume that UA probably costs a pretty penny, which is why Ochako, who comes from, as far as we're aware, probably like the not like the complete no money type of family, but her parents are not like as well to do obviously as like Momo's parents. But like we see the students building friendships, we see Ida and Izuku and Ochaku talking about like, why do they want to be a dream? Izuku wants to do it because he wants to help people, of course. And, Ida wants to do it because he's, following in his family's legacy. His brother is Ingenium, and his mother was probably, was a hero. Probably, I think they've determined that, and like their father was probably a hero because they come from a line of heroes. And so we see that, and then like Ochako is like, well, I want to be a hero because and don't look at me for being vain for this. I wanted it because I wanted to make money, because then I can give my parents an easier life, which I don't see a problem with that. I mean, a lot of the times in a lot of cultures, it's going to be, like the kid is going to have to take care of the parents when the parents get older. And Ochako has watched her parents for so many years kind of struggle with their construction business. And yeah, I'm sure they get jobs, but it's probably not as like huge jobs as like would be very helpful for them to be able to make some more money. And she wants to be able to give her parents an easier life once she becomes a hero. And like, Ida and Izuku are, no, that's fine. That's still a good reason to want to become a hero. I mean, it's like you still want to help people. Of course, Ochaku wants to help people and such. And we've seen that throughout the course of the story. Of course, she wants to protect people and help them and, stop the villains and everything like that. But, being a hero probably comes with a pretty good paycheck, too. I mean, can we be honest with this? I mean, like the higher in the rankings you are, probably the more money you make and the more merchandise you sell, or the more endorsement deals you have, the more money you make. So that's kind of, implied with that, which of course I went over in my different aspects of being a hero video. And some of the other things, of course, we see like the different friendships forming, like, Kirishima and Kacchan kind of start bonding a little bit. More just like Kacchan or Kirishima keeps following Kacchan around, and Kacchan's like, "Well, you leave me the F alone." Nope. What go away. It's like we see that and everything. And kind of on top of that, we also get where, when the students are on the bus ride on the way to the USJ, which, they're also like razzing on each other on the bus ride. They're like kind of, throwing shade at each other, like commenting on each other's quirks. And, I mean, like once they get to the USJ, things aren't as fun, obviously. There's not as, not as many fun things happen there. I mean, they got to meet 13. That was the fun part. And then everything went to heck in a handbasket. Went to hell in a handbasket. Yeah. Um, but it's like when they're on the bus, Sue is like, everybody, and I'm, Sue, you, Austin, they're kind of reintroducing themselves to each other a little bit. And she's like, but I want all of you to call me Sue, because she's like, you're my friends, you're my classmates and everything. And so that's like the running gag was saying, I was like, call me Sue, of course. And, love Sue. But we see them razzing on each other, and like this is the first time that like Izuku has seen Kacchan kind of getting, not bullied, because they're not bullying each other by any means. They're just kind of like teasing each other, and like, oh well, your quirk's really cool, and like, Kirishima's like, all mine can do is harden and everything, and Izuku's like, no, but that's a really good thing to have, and it can be very useful. And it's like, and like Kacchan's like, it was like or Suzu, I think, like, Kacchan can just make, Bakugo can just make things explode. I'll kill you, and go away. And like he's just like so annoyed that nobody is like terrified of him in the class, because like he came, Bakugo and Izuku of course came from the middle school where like Bakugo was like the best student there. He was probably like, we know that Bakugo cares quite a bit about his grades, of course. But like he probably had like the best grades, and then probably like the highest quirk aptitude. And from what we could tell, he probably had like the best quirk in the school. Um, and that was, why so many of the kids were terrified of him, and why they, kind of respected him, was because he has this quirk that can explode. He literally makes explosions. And, I'm sure that the teachers knew about him bullying Izuku, because it kind of happened right in front of them at various points in time. But they probably didn't really care, because, yeah, Izuku was quirkless, and Bakugo had this amazing quirk, and he was probably going to be the thing that, oh, if we produce him, then we can, once he got his name, Pro Hero Dynamite went here and everything, and so we produced one of them, and it's like, and then like they'll probably grab onto like Izuku's coattails, like Pro Hero Deku went here as well, type of a thing. But like we see the kids like kind of razzing on each other, talking about their quirks and just kind of bonding a little bit, and then they just have like the whole USJ incident, which is just no fun happens there really. I mean, there are a few lighthearted moments, but there's not that many of them, and that one is mostly like it's just we get like slight explanations of people, but like for the most part the USJ incident is an extremely serious incident going on, of course. And then we, of course, after that, we have kind of like where all the students are helping each other study. We have like Momo has, we're all they're studying for like their end of season, end of the year, or not end of the year, but end of semester exams. And during that whole time frame, they've had the sports festival, which is still fun. I mean, like they're still having fun at the sports festival to a degree. I mean, the cavalry race still seems kind of, cavalry, challenge seems kind of interesting and fun. And as long as you're careful, the obstacle course race, the maze one, wouldn't have been too bad. But we also, so we get to see them having fun there and everything, and still kind of building friendships a little bit there, which is important. But it's not like there's not a huge things, like they have the girls in the cheerleading outfits, of course, that Denki and Mineta tricked them into, and I've talked about those. I've talked about that, but like we see that, so it's like we've seen them go through some of that more bonding in that stage, and like we see the girls bonding a lot. And I'm going to mention it a little bit here, but like we have like the end credit scenes a little bit, where we have like, oh, the kids are all just like having fun with each other, and oh, I hear the dog, and having fun and relaxing, and all of that stuff, and training. And we see that with the girls a lot in the end credit scenes, and we see it with the boys too, as well at times, where they're kind of just making fun of each other. And Denki after a while isn't like terrified of Bakugo at all, and neither is Mina or Jiro or Kirishima. They're not really afraid of Bakugo at this point in time, because they've kind of a little bit started to build their different friend groups and everything. Like, yeah, the girls get along, and then like we have like Izuku's friend group, which is Ida and Achako and Sue and Shoto. And then, we have like, the other members of Class 1A that are also around each other. And like, I am going to talk about the end credit scenes in, I think, a different video. But, it's like, I like when they show the kids just kind of getting to be kids in those cases, getting to be teens and just having fun. And like, the end credits kind of show that a little bit because it's like, it shows a little bit of like life outside of class, which is nice. But it's like we have them helping each other study for the exams, because oh god, exams are so fun. And like, Momo invites a whole bunch of them over to her house and she does like a big study session and stuff like that. And, because she wants to help them and everything. And then we have, Bakugo helps, Kirishima with his studying, which is just kind of funny because Kirishima, Bakugo's basically like beating it into him to make him understand what's going on. So he's like, if you ask me to help you study, I am going to make sure that you pass that dang test, type thing. More swear words thrown in there, of course. But that's just, Bakugo is just like, you have to pass this, or you're going to be in trouble, and all this other stuff. And at the end of this, at the end of the first semester, of course, they have like their big final exams. They have to face off against the teachers and Nezu and such, which I'm like, there's not really a whole lot of fun that comes out of that. There's a lot of injuries in the case of Bakugo and Izuku. But, they have that they have to deal with and everything, which I wouldn't really put most of that finals down as fun, but it's there. Again, there's moments of levity throughout it, of course. And it's not as like do or die as like it was like like when Izuku and Shoto and Ida had to fight Stain, or at the USJ. It's not as do or die, but it's still important and you want to pass. And of course we have those that didn't pass. And then we have, I kind of put this as the pool race, which I know that the pool race is mostly just like an anime only episode, but I still find it funny because I like it as the concept of, oh, well, UA obviously has a swimming pool. I mean, we've seen it already because like we see Sue training there when she's practicing, training for the sports festival. We see the pool, or a pool, and we see a bunch of other stuff where it's it's like, well, it would make sense that UA would have a pool because having your heroes being able to like use their quirks in water, or swim and maneuver in water would probably be a very good thing. And it's like we kind of see that at the USJ as well. With like the flood zone, and they have to learn how to fight and deal with water, how it affects their quirks, how they can use it, how they have to work against it, and things like that. So they have the pool where and I went over this in one of the other videos for like the girls' body image one, where like Denki and Mineta are like, well, we overheard the girls talking and they're gonna go swimming, so, and we want to see them in their bikinis in their bathing suits. So it's like, how about we get Izuku to come with us, and we'll go and we'll go to the pool and everything like that with like at UA, and like they get to the pool and like Izuku's like, well, yeah, I invited everybody else, so it's like all the rest of the guys are there, and like we see the girls and they're all in like and I just find it so funny that they're all just like their school issue swimsuits, which is so funny. Like Denki and Mineta's dreams were crushed because Izuku is a decent human being and they're both perverts. But it's like, so they have like them, they have fun playing like volleyball and playing water volleyball and stuff like that. And they have fun, and then like they do like the race for all the boys. I don't remember why the girls weren't included in the race. I think it was just the boys trying to like one up each other. And it's like, so they do that race, and then like they have like different ones racing against each other, and it's like, can we use our quirks? Sure. And then like they're getting ready, they use their quirks, and then it gets down to Izuku and Shoto and Bakugo that are the last three that are going to race. And then like right before they're about to dive off the boards, Izawa shows up and erases their quirks, and they're just like, yep! They fall in the water. They fall in the water. I apologize for that noise. And they fall into the water. Just like, come on, can't we just let them finish the race? No, type of thing. And they leave and everything. So we just have those fun moments there. And then we do have, they get to go to the mall, and they have like their little mall trip, which has good intentions and starts off as a good thing because it's just like, oh, well, why don't we all go to the mall and get what we're going to need for like the camp? And, how, we do that, and we can just like have fun at the mall and everything. So it's like they think it's gonna be fun, and then of course Shigaraki decides to show up, and that just kind of throws everything out of whack. But it starts off with good intentions to go to the mall. And then we have where they go to the training camp. So it's, on the bus, they're like relaxing on the bus and having fun and talking and everything. And then of course they stop and then they meet, Mandalay and Pixie Bob and Coda, and then they get knocked off the side of the cliff by Pixie Bob, and then they have to fight their way through the forest against all the different earth monsters that she creates to get their way to the camp and such, which I just find hilarious. Um, I just find that so funny that they have to fight their way through that to get to the camp, and then they have like one more night of like leisure type of a thing. It's like oh well, we've got all this food ready for you, and like they just scarf down the food, and then it's like we got this food ready for you, and then we've got like a hot spring for you to take a bath in, and like so they all got to go and relax in the hot springs and everything like that. Which I mean, admittedly, that looks fun, but they get to relax in the hot springs and stuff like that. And then the next day is when torture begins. And, because it's just like, well, this is the last meal that you're going to have that's made for you. And the other days you're only going to have to make your food after training and everything like that, before and after training. I don't remember if they specifically said it was like you have to cook all of your meals, or like if like the Pussycats will like at least provide, like the Wild Wild Pussycats, if they'll at least provide them with breakfast. That would be nice. But they may not. I don't remember exactly what the rules were. I know they at least had to make like their dinner at least, like we see them making their dinner at least one night because they're not at the camp very long because of other things that happen. But like, so they're kind of bonding over their shared misery at the camp. And then of course that's when, everything gets attacked. When the camp gets attacked, of course. And when, that's when the League of Villains Vanguard Action Squad shows up and they have to deal with all of that, which is not a fun thing to have to deal with at all. Basically just, fun ends now. And then, Bakugo gets kidnapped. And then, of course, we do kind of have like this nice moment where, like the other rest of the members of the class, it's like after everything stopped at the camp and everything, when they're at the hospital, when like, they go and visit Izuku in the hospital, it's like they at least are nice to visit Izuku in the hospital. I mean, like they probably all had to be at the hospital anyway to be checked out for any various wounds or injuries they may have gotten, because we see some of them with, bandages or, whatever. And of course we know, unfortunately, that Jiro and Hagakure are both still knocked out because of the gas from mustard. But like they're all happy at least that Izuku's okay and such like that. But that of course leads into where they have to go and rescue Bakugo, where Ida and Izuku and Kirishima and Momo and Shoto go to try to rescue Bakugo. And so we do get those moments, but we usually get kind of like we get the moment of levity in there where they'll kind of have to go undercover, make disguises, and like they go into this costume shop, and we're all very certain that Momo probably could have very easily just produced whatever they needed out of her own self, but she wanted to just buy something at like a really cheap store because she doesn't usually get to do that, because like most of her stuff is most of my stuff is usually like, really, really high expensive things, and like, from boutiques and, big expensive shops. And I just want to shop at like a really cheap place to make a costume for this. So please. And like they do that. And, they all look so, very interesting by the time they're finished, because like they're supposed to hide who they are, which makes sense. Izuku's got like the goatee, and like he's like acting, I think he's supposed to be acting like a Yakuza boss. I don't remember exactly what Izuku is supposed to be acting like. But like, Momo has like her hair all fluffed up and everything. Is, but, Kirishima has like the extra horns, and his hair's kind of down, so he's not as noticeable. And Ida is like wearing like a very has his hair all slicked back, and it was like the bow tie and like the fake mustache and everything. And then Shoto has like the black wig to like cover his hair. It's so funny. I love it. They just look so funny when they're dressed up that way. I just find that so funny. And I know that it leads to a very serious moment with, they have, they watch the final battle with All Might against, All For One, and they rescue Kacchan, and then they watch, All Might, reveal his, his skinny form, his true form, his weak form on TV, nationwide, possibly to a degree worldwide, later on, and watches he, reveals that he's this shriveled thing, this, very skinny, emasculated thing in front of the entire world while he's still fighting this villain, and then he proves that he still defeats the villain. Well, appears to defeat the villain. In all honesty, if you just kill him, All Might, and I know heroes aren't supposed to kill, I know that they're not supposed to kill, but oh my god, there can be exceptions to the rules in this case with this guy. Because if you kill him, then you at least take away a whole bunch of problems for later on. Yeah. But I'm gonna leave that alone. But so it's like that's kind of where like we hit this like very hard limit for like, okay, they got Kacchan back and they're he's fine. None of them got more injured. Everybody's okay. The students, everyone's okay now. But it's like we hit that very hard limit that like it's like, yeah, we have fun stuff for school. President, yay, building friendships, yay, razzing on each other, studying help, pool race, going to the mall. Bakugo gets kidnapped. Oh, and I mean, like, kind of why I wanted to do this is I just kind of like the idea of like, oh, well, let's kind of show the places where like the kids are getting to have fun because like so much of the series focuses on like this battle and that battle and this battle and that arc with this huge battle and this thing happens over here like, oh, there was the USJ thing and then there was the stain and then there was all this other stuff that they have to deal with. But like I wanted to focus on more of the funny moments or the the more where they get to be more kids than anything for at least a little while. And I like it that they did that in the series. That that Horikoshi, writes that into the series and such like that because those are very important things to have. Because it's just like the same thing with like with Harry Potter. I mean, with Harry Potter, you have so much of the books and it's like, oh well, they have to go and fight the giant three-headed dog and then fight the freaking Wraith Voldemort thing in the dungeon, and then they have to fight the giant basilisk, and then there's this prisoner that's on escape, that's escaped, and then there's, the Triwizard Tournament, and then, oh, Voldemort's back, and then, oh, Sirius is dead, and spoilers if you haven't read the books or watched the movies. Oh, now Dumbledore's dead, and oh, now there's this giant battle at Hogwarts, and, sums up all the books. Sums up all the books in the 9 and the 8 movies. But J.K. Rowling, even throughout the books and even throughout the movies, it's very obvious that they still let the kids have time where they get to have fun. They have ball, which is fun, and Harry and Quidditch is fun. Quidditch is like that sports event. Everybody at school is just like, yay, Quidditch, awesome. As much as Quidditch does seem kind of awesome to a degree, I would also possibly be, depending on if my house was not the one, going up against another house, I would be the one like, okay, well, everybody's out of here. I'm going to go back to the library and do some studying. Or I'm going to work on my homework now while it's quiet. um, unless it was like my house playing. It's like, that's the way that I am when it comes to like football because, or like most sports, it's like, are the Huskers playing? Yes. Okay, then I care. Did we win? Yes. Okay, good. Are the Huskers playing? No. Then I really don't care. I mean, like, there's former Huskers that are on like, pro teams at this point in time. It's like with Nebraska, it's we have football. And my dad pointed out that it's kind of might be a good thing that we don't really have like a state, like a pro football team in the state because then that's so much more, so much more pride goes into our football teams. I'm recording this on a Friday, and we have a game on the next Saturday, so I use Husker shirt. And so we see all of that stuff, and it's like it's a very good thing. It's a very good thing to make sure that the kids still have time to be kids, because that I can tell you from very, very, very personal experience that sometimes just having a time to just relax and be a kid can be a very nice thing to have happen. Just relax, go read a book, go watch a movie with your friends, go have game night with your parents, bond with your friends, bond with, other students. That's a very important thing to have happen. And, I just find that so fun. that they show that in the series. And I'll go over those more. And like, the next section will be, I think the next video is going to be from kind of like just like the dorm room stuff, which I've already gone over the dorm rooms and I've already gone over Christmas. So I'll just kind of like, glaze over those when I get to when I get to that section. But like, next section is going to be like Christmas, I think all the way up until like, I think I was going to do like, just after the end of the sports fest or the cultural festival, because that most of that video will be talking about like the cultural festival and such, because that's like this big moment, or just like, well, we still got to do stuff that like other high schools get to do, where they do like the big cultural festivals and such. Which, in all honesty, I kind of wish American schools did those a little bit more. I mean, like we have like science fairs, and we have, you know, other things like that where it's like, oh, we have like, open houses for for like the parents to come and see what we do. But you don't really get to interact with each other very much to a degree. But I just wish that they did that a little bit more. I wish they had more things like that here in the US. Although I probably wouldn't be super involved in it because I'm just not that kind of person. I didn't go to any of my school dances, none of them, because I didn't care. Because it just wasn't something that mattered to me. I was just like, you don't want to go to prom? Why would I want to go to prom? I don't know that many people. Most of the people that I would know wouldn't be going to prom anyway. But yeah, okay. So that's what we have for this video. One of my shorter videos ish, I guess. It's still like half-hour long. But I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you think I missed something in between, like that time frame where like they're just getting to be kids, or it's like if you have like a favorite moment where they're just kind of getting to be teens in that section and like this section, please comment about them. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. And for the football game that'll happen tomorrow, go Huskers! Bye. They've been exposed to the outside world, up close and personal. They've had that fear planted in them, and they've endured it, overcome it. Each has grown from that experience and forgotten how to hesitate.